okay? Because a lot of you are saying that you use recordings to go back and even just re-listen to content. I think, Kaden, you gave that as in something that you guys do. Yes, something that you do to help you review when you feel confused or overwhelmed by a topic. So that's always there for you, not just if you have missed a session, but if you want to go over content. Yes, so let's redirect from that conversation that we had coming in on anime and stuff. Awesome. Can I have someone read today's objectives? Who wants to do that today? Is JB here? Kaden, Alex?
I'm here, guys.
Right.
All right, done. All right, Mike, go ahead for it.
Define asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction, and then describe the difference between a haploid and a diploid.
Awesome. Isaac, I'm hearing him. I'm hearing him on my mic. So if you're not hearing your mic, that is, let's have you go ahead and refresh. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, JB. We missed you yesterday. I was talking about cheese and something, and I was like, and they were like, Mrs. Rittenhouse, JB isn't here. And I was like, you were there for a minute. I saw you. So I'm not calling you out. I'm just saying we totally missed you. You make a big difference in class. Again, for those of you who don't know what these colors on these charts are, these are what help find what our goals are, what kind of a level of we're thinking at today. So when you see this purple text, we're going to talk about this basic level of just starting to understand something. First, we gain knowledge and understanding. Yesterday, we were up here in the top of the triangle where we were actually using the information that we had gathered on photosynthesis and cellular respiration, and we were synthesizing that. We were putting that together and processing, like in your cell projects. And also in your comics, even in those, I forget the chart name again. Why can't I remember those models, Frayer models that we use? That's going to help us process the information, a higher level of understanding. And Kaden was like, I'm not going to remember this for the spring test. And I said, you will, because when we process at that higher level of thinking, it really helps us put things into our long-term memory. And that's why we do it. Awesome. So at the very first unit of biology, we talked about what makes a living thing, right? We saw this chart-ish in a different form, right? We talked about things like metabolize, which metabolism means like what we eat food, that there's cellular organization, or it's made of cells, things grow and develop. And today we're going to talk about this circle right here. Things reproduce. All right? In order for something to be alive, characterized as alive, it has to reproduce. All right? And we're going to look at that specifically today. So there are two ways that organisms reproduce. There are asexual ways of reproducing and sexual ways of reproducing. So can you use your pointers, point to the way that we as human beings, I know, what is it? I understand. Before I was a biology teacher, I was like, oh, yes, Isaac. I'd be like, oh, health class. Someone used the word sexual. No. Okay, we are going to use this in a I know this is not health class today, okay? We are not going to go through the processes of that. I'm going to leave that to your parents and your health teachers. But I really want you to try to, like, maybe just say it in your head 5 times. Sexual, asexual. Maybe that's what you'll be saying today, Mrs. Schmidt. Okay, say it out loud, say it in your head. Like, I want you to get over the weirdness of the word. And I really want to think about this on a very cellular level today. All right, because this is a really cool cellular process when we can leave how this physically occurs behind. We got that, right? So like, let's try to get beyond the screen of the weirdness of the word. Don't say it out loud. I mean, seriously though, this is
Sexual reproduction.
yes, thank you. It is a really, really awesome thing on a very cellular level. It's probably a cool thing on a physical level too. We are just not there yet in our age of life to appreciate how cool it is that as organisms we are able to do this. All right, but we're going to look at this on a cellular level. All right, microscopic level. This is no weirdness. This is super duper cool. So let's start first of all with asexual reproduction. We don't do this. You know of an organism that does go through asexual reproduction? Anybody?
Bacteria.
I am so sorry, Isaac. I didn't realize that. I called you that. A starfish. Ooh, yes. My computer is going to die. Let me plug it in here. Sorry, 1 second. Why must you die on me in the middle of class? All right. We're plugged in. Awesome. So, yes, starfish. How about bacteria? Did anyone mention bacteria while I was out of way at chat? Amoebas. Yes. I don't even know what some of these words are, so I can't even tell you, Jana, that that's wrong. Bacteria is a good one. A starfish is, you know what, Madison, you are right-ish. Starfish can reproduce asexually, as in, like, so cool. If I were a starfish, all right, and you chopped my arm off, Kaden, all right, my arm could actually go floating away and reproduce a genetical twin of myself. Seriously. It would reproduce and it would be an identical clone of me. How awesome is that? So in asexual reproduction, you're able to reproduce by yourself. Like I lose an arm and my arm goes off and my cells in the rest of my arm divide and divide and divide and divide. And so there's a whole nother Mrs. Rittenhouse that is exactly the same as me, which is why it would be so creepy if we, as human beings, asexually reproduced. Because I really love each and every one of you, but if there were more than one of you, I would not know how to handle that. And honestly, how cool is it that you are the only one of you that will ever be on this planet? I just like really, let's just take a self-love moment because I think it is so cool that who Isaiah is as a person is the only Isaiah that will ever be on this planet ever. And there are things about Isaiah that are special to him that are not special to anyone else. Seriously. Brooke, Starla, Alex, JB, Riley, Thomas, Leah, I want to go through Britton, you are the only one. Cheyenne, Titus, you are the only one of you that will ever walk the planet. I know, I'm trying to go through the whole list. Braxton, Jordan, Josiah, Ellie, Madison, Kelsey, Julia, Lewis, Tyler, Rylan, Andrea, Maya, Ben, Ava, Leah, Emma, Izzy, Eli, Jacob, Kylie, Brooke, Connor, you guys are unique. Katie, Jayla, Gavin, Evan, Catherine, Shania, Amira, Kyle, Grace, Caitlin, Zane, Bryce, Francisco, Angelo, Brianna, Cherry, Dre, Josh, Honesty, Brecken, Krista, Jaden, Aaliyah, Sophia, Chloe, Trenton, Kira, Peyton, Autumn, Cage, Diamond, Maria, Celis. You guys are unique. Chyla, Isaiah, Emma, Hunter, Sarah, Jana, Elijah, Adam, Kayla, Adrian, Marissa, Brendan, Andrew, Antoinette, Nevaeh, Abby, Elena, Cody, I did it. You guys are so unique. You are so special, and you have something to offer that no one else in this world can offer. Seriously, truly. I know I just said a lot of names, but I 100% mean that. You are the only one of you that will ever walk this earth, and you have something to contribute. You have something that society and this world needs, and that's why you are so special. All right? So I know that was a lot, but it's true. That is what is so neat about being human beings and being different than a lot of those prokaryotes. A lot of prokaryotes, a lot of single cellular organisms, a lot of organisms that live by themselves in isolated environments, or plants that are like in the bottom of the ocean and like coral that are rooted to a rock and cannot move. Those are going to be organisms that reproduce. Oh, Caden, I said your name. There's only one Caden. All right. Those kind of isolated organisms have to reproduce asexually because they oftentimes are not mobile. They're not mobile and they can't walk around and have the ability to find a partner. Okay. So, asexual reproduction, it is reproduction that you do by yourself, and when you reproduce by yourself, you get a exact clone, an exact copy of yourself. Okay? So what I want you to remember about today, everybody type this in the chat. Asexual reproduction equals clone. Okay? Asexual reproductions result in clones. All right, everybody type that because this is a way of learning, right? And you're remembering because you're putting this in your brain by typing it in the. If you reproduce asexually, you get an exact identical copy, and usually that's because organisms can't move around. All right, that's when we're going to shift our focus today to sexual reproduction. Whoa, the word. All right, sexual reproduction, because when two organisms, all right, swap genetic information or combine genetic information, they make something new. They create something genetically different. All right. That's what's so cool about animals that reproduce asexually is that there's differentiation. It gives us genetic variety. A chicken does not reproduce asexually. Okay? It produces sexually, believe it or not. There's a rooster. So, yes, you do get an egg. So let's talk about asexual reproduction. No, let's not. We've talked about this. There's one cell. The DNA is copied and it is exactly the same. It produces an identical twin. All right, we talked about the starfish. This is a hydra. It's the same thing as a starfish where it can actually lose like a piece of a limb. All right, and that little it's called a bud. It's called budding. And when it buds off that piece, it'll produce a genetic copy, an exact copy of it. All right, cells that do that go through binary fission. All right, which just means the DNA copies and we get two cells that are the same. They pinch off from one another and they're the same. Does anyone have a parent that is into propagating plants? You can do this with some plants too, where you actually cut off. My mother-in-law is like a huge plant person. Yeah, she does this where she takes off succulents. I have like a Christmas cactus, and she grows plants from the same plant. It's crazy. I kill everything I touch, but she has the touch. So I don't want to focus any more time on this. I feel like if you don't understand this at this point, you can copy the slide, save it, right click, save as, put it in a note, check out your content. It's really pretty simple. The DNA is just copied. It's the exact same DNA, and it produces these exact same type of organism. All right, trying to monitor the chat here. All right, so let's talk quickly, all right, about the cellular part and the cellular part of reproduction, okay? So the cellular part of reproduction is you each have a type of cell in your body that is different than any other cell type in your body. All right, let's talk about sex cells. I don't know what we're doing in chat. I think we are loving one another in chat. All right, and we will get there. Let's come back to that in a minute. All right, you have different types of cells in your body. Name some of the cells that are in your body. I've got skin cells in my body. I've got brain cells in my body. Blood cells in your body, muscle cells in your body. Kaden. Nerve cells. Yes, you've got nerve cells in your body. You've got lung cells. You've got bone cells, hair cells, intestinal cells. All right, you've got all kinds of cells. They all have jobs. But there is one type of cell in your body that is different than any others, and those are what we call your sex cells. All right? All right. If you are a gentleman, you have sperm cells. All right? You have sperm cells in your body. If you are a female, you have egg cells in your body. This is not weird. It is a cell. Goes under a microscope. Okay? And we can look at them, and it's super cool. These cells are different from your brain cells, your lung cells, your bone cells, your blood cells, because listen guys, I really want you to focus on this, is the DNA in your reproductive cells, guys, only have half the amount of DNA. What did I just say? Everybody put that in chat, because chat is busy. What is different about your sex cells? Your egg cells or your sperm cells? What makes them different? Good. They are what we call haploid. Haploid. They're called haploid cells. And just like HALF starts with HA, right? Half is HALF. I'm putting that in chat. Haploid, HAPLOID, have half the amount of DNA. We go through a certain process in cellular division to get these cells so that when you go to cellularly sexually reproduce, that the egg cell plus the sperm cell equal one piece, one whole diploid cell. All right, everybody put diploid. The rest of our body cells are called diploid. Your lung cells are diploid cells. Your brain cells are diploid cells. Your bone cells are diploid cells. All right, every other type of cell is a diploid cell. But what if we put two diploid cells together in sexual reproduction? We would have too much DNA, right? So our sex cells, our egg cells, and our sperm cells are very special because they each have half the amount of DNA. Half the amount. So that when that egg cell and when that sperm cell come together, we have a full diploid cell. All right. So here we go. This is just showing you, here again, our haploid sperm and our haploid egg. They each have 23 chromosomes. Chromosomes are pieces of DNA. All right, and when those 23 chromosomes come together. Oh, Diamond, I love your question. You sent me a private question. I love it, and we are getting there, okay? So let's just go there right now. All right, this is when your cells start to differentiate, all right? After we combine those together, and let's just use this to transfer. I would like to show you, this is a zygote, okay? This is a zygote. This is day one when your egg cells and sperm cells combine, they make an embryo or a zygote. All right, a zygote is our first form, and then they grow. All right, one cell becomes two cells. All right, look at this. All right, this is a cell that has divided into multiple cells. On day two, you looked something like this. On day three, you looked something like this. And this is where the story gets very personal. Are you guys ready? I need you to come here. Right here on day 3 through 5, you became an embryo. All right? That is when, on day 3 through 5, the DNA from your mom and the DNA from your biological dad actually combined to make one cell. On day 3 to 5 of your actual conception is when, yes, are you ready for this? I actually know this embryo. I know this embryo. Hey, Rennie, come here. Come here for a minute. Come here. I know you're in your jams. Uh-huh. Come here, Rennie. This, one of these little embryos on your screen is my Ren. That is what you look like, baby. On day 3 to 5, that is Ren. You see, I had a 0.1% chance of being able to ever have a baby. I went to the doctor and they did a bunch of tests and they said, I'm sorry, Mrs. Rittenhouse, I don't think you're ever going to be able to have a baby. And Mila right here was a little miracle. I didn't know that I was not able. All right, so Mila is my miracle number 1. All right, she was conceived after a year and a half of wishing for children. But then after Mila, she kept asking for a sister. All right, go ahead, Rennie. And I went to the doctor and they said, you know what? You're probably not going to have a baby. And if you do, it's going to have to be through the process of IVF, in vitro fertilization. Okay, so Ren was actually conceived in a petri dish in a lab. Okay, I actually had to go to the doctor, and the doctor actually had to surgically remove eggs from my body. Okay, and you can freeze them. He put them in a deep freezer, all right? Yeah, and we surgically got cells, sperm cells from my husband, and they were combined. Okay, they were combined in a laboratory. And every single day, I started with like 21 little cells that looked like this. And every single day, the lab would call me and say, oh, Mrs. Rittenhouse, you had 21 embryos, but on day 2, a bunch of them died. And then day 3, they would call and I had a few less. And day 4, they would call and I had a few less. You see, between day 3 and 5, my embryos, when my husband's DNA and my DNA combined to try to make an embryo the eggs weren't making it. They weren't surviving. I had three embryos that survived to this stage. This is between day 3 and 5. All right. And they grew in the lab. And on day 3 to 5, I went back into the lab and they surgically put one of these little they put 2 of them actually back into my body. And one of those embryos I lost. They did not thrive. And the second one did. And that second one is the little Rennie Roo that you saw today. There was a third embryo, and last year we tried to surgically have that again put in, and that embryo did not survive either. So how cool is it? I'm guessing too many of you don't have. I'm guessing because this picture right here was taken in a laboratory under a microscope. They put Rennie's little petri dish under a microscope and put it up on a TV. Yep, it's called IVF, in vitro fertilization. And as they put these pictures on the microscope on a TV right before they surgically put them in me, you could see, guys, you could see these cells growing and moving. You could see them thriving. It was so super cool. So super cool. All right. So Ren was conceived just like all of you may have been, all right, from an egg cell and a sperm cell. But somebody was asking me, because they hear a lot about eggs being frozen. A lot of times now, because sometimes women are going into careers, I need to watch my time because I get so emotional talking about this. Women will go into careers, and as you get older, your eggs they have the chance, because you have all of your eggs, women, you have all of your egg cells in your body from the day you were born. All right, so every day after that, they are there, okay? And as you age, they have the ability to have some mutations or chromosomal disorders or whatever it is. It's also harder to become pregnant between the ages of 30 and up, all right? So some women are actually going in and doing what I did and freezing their eggs so that they have a better chance of being able to have children later in life. All right. This is still a form of sexual reproduction. All right. It still creates genetic variety. It's an awesome thing where I feel like science, all right, and our lives and our reality combine, right? Yes, it's called IVF. And without this process, I wouldn't have been able to have my little baby girl today. So it's a super cool process of taking your two haploid cells, putting them together. And as these embryos grow and divide, all of these cells that you see, all of these little cells that you see, get a job. Okay? IVF. Yep, sorry, IV. No, it's not human cloning, because you see they're still cells that are different. They're still haploid cells. Every embryo is different. Yep. So we have my egg cell still had the genetic variety from me, and my husband's sperm cell still had genetic variety from him. All right. Yes. So it is definitely, Ren is not a clone, and nor is any human being you ever will meet be a clone. All right. So yes, I'm trying to follow questions in both the private and regular chat. So, and I am not a clone myself either. No, none of us are clones. We all came, if you are a human being and alive and thriving, you came from a haploid, two haploid cells. Yes, yep, you'll find that a lot of, it's a very expensive process. We're still paying off her debt. I always tell her we are paying her child, her college fund to get her here. Yep, over $30,000. And we had a whole IVF cycle before that fail. So it's very, very expensive. We had to take out loans to do it. Yeah. It's crazy. It's awesome though, because it gives parents that may not have had the opportunity to have a family, it gives them the opportunity to have a family, you know? Yes, it gave me the opportunity to have two little sweet girls and I'd always dreamed of being a mom. I always wanted to have lots of kids. I was hoping to have 4 or 5 children, but I'm very grateful that I have 2. All right. So as our cells grow and divide from that very early stage, what happens is I like to say that our cells go to school. Are you ready for this? What do you guys want to do when you start down a career path? Some of you might want to go to college. Do any of you want to go to college? If you want to go to college for something specific and put that in the chat. What do you want to do? Maybe you want to go to trade school, hair school. Ooh, some of us want to be nurses. Go to the Army. That's great. Go into neonatal. Oh, that would be wonderful. You know what my dream job is? To actually be a geneticist and work for a doctor's office that does what the doctor did that helped me, right? Hedgehogs play college football, acting, all these things. All right, so this is perfect. All of these things that we want to do. Yes, I always wanted to be a teacher. And then I went to school for biology, and then I'm like, ooh, it would be fun to be a geneticist, Jana. Yes. A vet, hair school, hematology nurse. These are so good. Be soccer players, do computer stuff, all of these things. What do these things all require? They all require training of some sort, right? Some of them require college. Yes, Thomas, they all require hard work. So what happens is our cells take a pathway. All right, just like we are in this high school age where you have the embryo starts maturing. All right, and as the embryo starts to mature, cells start to go different directions and get jobs. It's just like where you guys are at in life. You all are going to start finding your niches in life, what you're good at. All right, what you like. And going to go get training in different areas for those jobs. And that's exactly what cells do. All right. A cell that doesn't have a job yet is called a stem cell. All right. We could call stem cells high school students. Okay. They are grown. They are thriving. They're in their youth. They're in their prime. All right. And they're just kind of waiting for some direction. All right. And once those stem cells get jobs, they can't ever go back to being a stem cell again. Okay. In fact, does anyone know the only place you can get a human stem cell? Where's the only place you could get a human stem cell? Kind of. When you were born, there's a cord that connects you to your mother that they cut as soon as you are birthed. Yep. You have an umbilical cord, right? That the baby is attached to the mom inside her body. All right, that umbilical cord has stem cells in them. It's the only place that you can get stem cells. or it's cells that are your cells that don't have jobs. Cool, right? So they are actually doing freezing of stem cells now. Like when you have a baby, you have the option of freezing some of those stem cells. All right. And then what they do is they save those for later in life, in case you would need transplant surgery or blood, whatever else, that they can go back into the freezer. That's what they do. Just like they froze little Rennie Roo. All right. They can freeze those stem cells and pull those back out and grow those in a laboratory and help give them jobs, right? But then in your body right now, there are absolutely no stem cells that are jobs that don't have jobs. So cool. Psychology is interesting. Baby teeth. Your hair cells don't have jobs. You guys are so funny. All right. I know we covered a bazillion things today. We did not get into the details of mitosis and meiosis, but I feel like we did cover what is asexual production, what is sexual reproduction, what is the difference between haploid and diploid cells, and then how do our cells grow and divide and get jobs? We go from stem cells in our embryos, and they start going off, all right, and getting specific jobs. It's called cell specialization. Yeah, yep. Kids, there are a lot women. Everyone has a different genetic makeup, and everybody has different, different genetic possibilities. And we're going to talk about that next unit in genetics. We're going to look at our DNA. We're going to look at our chromosomes and what makes you you. All right, what you have the ability of inheriting from your parents. It's going to be super cool. All right. Give me your pointer on the board. Did you learn something new today? Did you learn something new today? You see why this was such a special lesson for me. I cannot talk about cellular or sexual reproduction. I can't talk about haploid cells and how they come together and the miracle of life and just how seriously special you are. The fact that you guys got here and yourselves thrived. Look how hard it was for me to bring a person into this world. $50,000 and lots of heartache later to get a special little child named Ren, and you each all had to go through a process of getting here too. All right, you are very intentionally here. You have adoption was an option. Adoption was an option. Yep, that was just a personal decision. I really, really, really had always wanted to try to have kids of my own, see what what my genes could do and what that would give us. A girl boss, thank you. Yep, IVF is super expensive. It's not something we planned for because no one expects to be told, hey, you are going to need a bunch of money to be able to have a baby. It's another financial lesson for later, but save your pennies, guys, because you don't know what life is going to bring your way. You got to have a savings account. Because if we hadn't had some things paid off, we wouldn't have been able to take out loans to do that, you know? You don't know what life is going to bring you. Oh, how old am I? I don't mind sharing that. I am 36. But Ren is 3 years old. So I did have her in my 30s, but I found out when I was in my 20s that I was not able, we don't actually know. It was a giant mystery. And I know it's past time, so if you need to go, you feel free to leave. They don't know. I don't mind sharing it all. It's part of my story. They don't really know. why it was such a struggle for us. Sometimes they will know there'll be genetic underlying reasons, and they could not find after a lot of testing why. I hope so too. And if not, I'm so thankful for science and processes like that hopefully can bring hope to tough situations, because not a lot of people have it as tough as I do. You're low-key avoiding English. Well, don't make your English teacher hate me. Yep. I'll hang around for questions, but have a wonderful day.
All I can say is science is amazing.
Isn't it nuts?
Oh my gosh, that